Hello, sinners, and hail Sappho. It's your hostess with the mostest, Narcissa DeVille. And if you are new to this channel, welcome. Hello, we've been expecting you. I do weekly Good Omens videos. This is my second video for the week. I've been really bad about doing this regularly. Oopsie daisy. But this is what I've been looking forward to for kind of a hot minute. And as always, I have my lovely co-hostess, Mother DeVille. Hi,
She
hello.
forgot who I was.
No, you could introduce yourself too. It isn't always on me. Jeez.
It's your show.
Hello. And this is going to be a special season 3 predictions video. Also a kind of bingo card, if you like. I'm going to have bingo cards that I will make, and they're going to be in a link at the bottom of this video. I'm very excited about this. I spent a lot of time actually thinking about these. I was originally going to do this as like a tier of like the most likely to the least likely. And then I was like, you know what? That is A, way too much work. B, I feel like any of these are like least likely to most likely. So it's kind of just whatever you feel like. If you agree with my predictions, great. If you have your own, I'd love to hear them, but I'm not going to change this list. But no. I'm just saying, like, I'm not going to change this list. This is my predictions. You can make your own.
Correct.
I'm just one Looney Tune with too much time on her hands who thinks a little too much about a gay angel and demon. Leave me alone. Any whoozle bees. Anyway, thank you.
Love it.
Any Beelzebubs. Yeah, so let's get into it. This is going to be 25 predictions because obviously a traditional bingo card is 5 by 5, and that's the one I've made up here. So we're actually going to start. It's not.
When she told me that, I'm like, really?
Yeah, it's not in any particular order, but I am going to start with the free space because I think that one's kind of a given. I feel like this is the one prediction I'm fairly like the most confident about, and that's why I'm making it the free space, because it is of course the South Downs cottage. I think it's almost a guarantee at this point that by the end of the show, Crowley and Aziraphale are going to be living together in their South Downs cottage. That's something that Neil has been talking about for years, so something that they've kind of talked about for a very long time. So I feel comfortable making this the free space. I feel comfortable with this being the one that's like, you know, it's going to happen. Yeah, it's a given. Mm-hmm. It's going to take a minute to get there, but it seems like it's a given at this point. So I feel comfortable with that. What do you think?
No, I absolutely agree.
Okay. Next up, I do have the second prophecies of Agnes Nutter coming back. Yes. I've talked about this in a few videos now. You know, the way season 1 ends, obviously we see Anathema and Newt sitting in the park burning the prophecies, but we really only see the first page get burnt. It's implied that the rest of it does, but we only see the first page. So you can realistically say that the rest of it, she just decided not to burn. You can also realistically say that Agnes Nutter would have predicted this already and would have sent those prophecies off to someone else. Yeah. I feel like since they took the time to show that there was a second set of prophecies, it almost feels like it would be a missed opportunity not to include them somewhere. I feel pretty confident in putting this on my bingo list as like, there's a fairly good chance those prophecies would come back. Yeah. Because Agnes would know to predict that. I don't know who she'd send them to. I'd like to think to the bookshop to Aziraphale, but I don't know.
Oh, that would be cute.
Wouldn't it?
I think that maybe even her mother.
Yeah.
Because
Anathema's mother.
Yeah, she's in there quite a bit, and you're like, okay, something more maybe coming from her.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be very interesting to see how they decide to do that.
Well, they had it the whole time, and the mother was instructed not to give it to her until a certain time.
Yeah, it's hard to say how they're going to do that, but I do feel like it almost has to be. It would be really strange if it wasn't to me, but you know, we'll see.
But again, it's just a prediction.
Yes. Of course, I think this one is a fairly safe bet as well, that Adam will be coming back in season 3. I think there's going to be a showdown between Adam and Jesus. Obviously, we're doing the second coming. That's been implied in the ending of season 2. Yeah. I feel like the Antichrist versus Jesus kind of makes sense. It's hard to say how that's going to go because I
don't know. That was one that I was like, I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, it almost... I don't know if they want to go that deep. And this is after a show that showed Jesus on the cross.
Yeah. He got crucified.
Yeah.
And they said it's going to be the second coming. So to me,
you might be right.
I think it's possible. They may have a workaround for that. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do that.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
To me, it makes sense. We'll see. Now, I will say this one is not so much a prediction as just like a general vibe that I think I'm fairly confident saying that it's going to hurt. We're going to get a lot of shit that's going to hurt a lot. I think it's going to be like, obviously we know we're going to get the South Downs, but up till then, the 5 episodes leading up to that, or, 5.5, are going to be really rough. I feel like.
Think so too.
And so it's going to be a lot. It's going to be painful. There's a lot of things that are going to be on this list that kind
tissues.
Yeah, exactly.
We have to make sure.
Well, I wasn't prepared for the way season 2 ended. So I had nothing. It was 4 a.m. and I was like, what the fuck was that? So yeah, that's just all I'm going to say on that. Next up, we are probably going to get some kind of scene that is in 1941 / the 1800s again, or both.
Yeah.
Because those came up in the first 2 seasons. I feel like it almost has to.
Yeah.
We have to have a finalization of the zombie shit. I need that to end.
I do too.
Oh God, we're going to get to that when we get to season 2. Suffice it to say, I don't like it.
No.
Crowley's Fall. I think, like I said, it's almost a guarantee that we're going to get this because of the way, we started season 1 with them on the wall. We started season 2 with Before the Fall. So I feel like it would be inevitable. A full circle. Yeah, it just makes sense. It's going to be rough and painful. There's a lot of questions that people have about that whole event, not just Crowley's Fall specifically, but also like, where was Aziraphale during this?
Yeah.
So there's a lot that can be done with that. I feel like that's going to be really, really rough. But I would say that feels like one of those predictions that's like a free space. Like it seems pretty sound to me that that's where we're going to begin.
Yeah.
So this is one that I feel like I've heard going around as like something people think, and that's why it's on this list. I don't know how realistic it is. Are you okay? Okay. I don't know how realistic it is, but I would be very fascinated about this. So people have been talking about the idea that it's very possible that Muriel was higher up on the pecking order than currently.
Yes.
Because it's very odd that it's like, 46th class of Scrivener or something like that.
Yeah.
And the one, they were going to put Gabriel one below when he gets kicked out.
Yeah.
So it almost seems like why
did something.
Yeah. It seems like he was probably like an Aziraphale type, and they were like, no, we're not doing this, and erased her memory.
And it makes sense why he chose to put her in the bookshop.
Yeah. And I would say, I think there's a fairly good case to be made that could be that it was the Supreme Archangel before Gabriel, because technically speaking, there is a time frame where we don't see Gabriel and we don't know what he was doing. So he may not have always been the Supreme Archangel. Yeah. So there is a case to be made.
That's why he's going in.
And that's why because it's like a punishment.
I have a question.
Okay.
How could they just let Gabriel go off just because
well, I'm sure that's going to come up in season 3 as well, what happened.
Okay.
But
that makes sense.
Yeah. And I put this somewhere on my list. I don't remember where exactly, but I think there's a very good possibility that Crowley is going to have to team up with Gabriel and Beelzebub, and that they're going to be fighting against Aziraphale for a minute. And I don't like that, but
we were in the car.
We were in the car coming up with these predictions a couple months ago, weeks ago, whatever. So I don't remember the whole, what number everything is. So I'm just kind of remembering randomly, but I do think that's going to be on there. Next, of course, we've got, I think the Book of Life is going to play a bigger role in season 3. We've seen in season 2 when they brought this up, it was kind of like this threat that loomed over everything, but nothing really happened with it. I feel like there's a good chance that somewhere that is going to come up. Mm-hmm. Somewhere it is going to become relevant. I don't like the possibility of it because the implications are not great. It's depressing.
And I think that's what is so great about your predictions. Mm-hmm. It's
I have reasoning.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not just like pulling shit out of my ass.
I've
really thought about this. I've also thought about this from how would I do it? I'm not Neil. Obviously we have very different writing ideas and styles, and that's just creativity in general. Yeah. But I will say I did think about this and how would I do this as a writer? Yeah. And so maybe, this is projecting a little bit. I don't know. The next one that I am more and more confident about, just based on, and actually, I'll tell you what made me more confident about this prediction was the Crowley and Aziraphale's playlist. because a lot of the songs people have pointed out are like about rings and marriage and, you know, love and heartbreak and things like that. And, you know, living together and all of this. I feel like there is a very, very good chance that Crowley and Aziraphale are going to be made human a la the Barbie movie.
Aww.
I think it's almost certain. And it also coincides with another prediction I have that we are probably going to get, and some people have argued with me on this, that there's a reason why they won't do it, but I feel like there's a good chance we may get an on-screen, on-camera God reveal. I don't know who would play her. I think it should be Laverne Cox, but that's just me.
Oh,
doesn't make sense with the voice that she's got so far, but I
Nice.
don't care. I want it to be Laverne Cox anyway.
Yes,
She is my idea of God.
Yes.
But
I love it. It's an amazing idea, but don't they like to stay with just a British cast?
No. What's his name is American. And the voice of God is American. Gabriel is American.
John
Frances
Hamm?
McDormand. Yeah, he's American.
Frances McDormand isn't.
Yes, she is. She was born in Illinois. I looked at her IMDb.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
I think it makes them, like, if God is everyone, I think it makes very much sense for her to be a trans woman like Laverne Cox.
Absolutely.
I think it'd be brilliant.
I agree.
I think along with them being made human, I think they could actually get married, which people have kind of been wanting forever. You know, they're called the Ineffable Husbands for a reason. I feel like we also got the side ship that people wanted with Gabriel and Beelzebub, so it kind of makes sense that they should be like together properly. I have argued that even if they weren't made human, there is a justifiable reason for them to get married. They do human stuff all the time. I think there is a justifiable reason. It's always going to be, there's a possibility that I'm wrong. I am no Agnes Nutter. You know, if I was, I would be, I don't know, making millions on the lotto, but you know, it is what it is. But I had this idea. I think it's possible. The next step, I do have the war of heaven and hell versus earth. That was kind of hinted about in season 1. As I've said before, I think that's kind of going to be a situation where Crowley is going to team up with Beelzebub and Gabriel, which is going to be weird, but I think that's kind of a strong possibility.
But it's kind of, they have to do that in order to save Aziraphale.
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yeah. I think it's fair to say, and again, this is another prediction that could have easily been the free space. I think it's safe to say that the Metatron will be kind of the central villain of season 3.
Oh, yeah.
He's kind of, to me, he's the central villain of the end of season 2.
Period.
So I think he definitely would be the main villain of season 3 because I think he's very manipulative. I think he's...
And they try to make him all innocent and angelic. And...
No, but I don't think that they do because, like I said, we'll get to this when we get to the review of season 2, but like the whole scene where he looks at Crowley and there's like that very angry sound effect that comes out and he looks very angry. So like it seems to me that he's not a good guy at all, even though Aziraphale kind of wants to believe it after all this time, which is its own thing. I have a lot of thoughts about that, but
I agree.
Suffice it to say, I think there's a good likelihood that he would be the main villain. I do think Aziraphale in heaven, if he does have his memory, which again, I'm still not convinced of, if he does have it, I think he's going to be very miserable very, very quickly. And also on my prediction sheet, I think there is going to be a rift in heaven because of him becoming...
Oh, yeah. The other
Supreme Archangel,
are not going to be happy.
Yeah, exactly. I think Michael and Uriel are going to be pissed. And I think that's going to cause a rift. I feel like they were already kind of like at each other's throats with
Over
Gabriel gone.
Yeah.
But I think like having it be Aziraphale, it's going to cause like War in Heaven 2 Electric Boogaloo. Like it's going to be rough. So that's going to be fun to watch.
Because the Metatron isn't going to always be there. He's
not exactly. I don't think
he can form.
Yeah, I don't think he can always keep them in check.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be very, very interesting. So yeah, I did put in my predictions officially that I think Aziraphale probably won't remember his time on Earth. Like I said, his smile in the elevator feels a little too manic not to imply that this is a big possibility. I could be completely wrong. I could be completely misreading the situation. I think everyone has their own predictions.
Was that he realized it right when he got in the elevator, when they kept showing him and and like I said, the split screen of him and Crowley, he was like, I
fucked up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or he's thinking in his head, I have a plan.
Yeah, maybe. It's possible, but I don't know. I still think, I mean, there's a lot of, some of my predictions contradict each other. I will admit that. Like there's other ones that like contradict this one, but I think it's a possibility. So, and that's kind of always the thing, is like, it's always a possibility.
That's why it's a prediction.
Yeah. We don't know
but the
until.
thing is that doesn't he have to remember, Aziraphale, doesn't he have to remember how they treated him? He's not the
but
type
he doesn't
that's
know. He doesn't know. He wasn't there when Gabriel and all of them tried to kill him.
No,
so
but I'm talking about when they socked him in the gut.
Well, that's the thing. If
He's not gonna be
he
the
doesn't
type-
remember that,
there's that
then
prediction.
that works.
But also, if he does keep his memory, he's not the type of angel or person that is gonna hold a grudge.
No,
which is
everyone's
always
kind of talked about it, that he thinks he can reform heaven.
Exactly.
And it kind of seems like that's not going to happen.
No.
I don't know. It's, Crowley's very much like a tear it down, and Aziraphale's like a reform it. I don't know if that's the best answer. I don't know what the answer is. I guess we'll have to see.
They take opposites attract to the extreme.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. So this is one that I think is probably least likely, and this is another one that kind of contradicts the previous one, but I do find it a fascinating idea. I love the idea that maybe, because obviously we know holding hands allowed them to switch places. But what if during the kiss they switched places? A lot of people have had kind of their reasons for suggesting this idea. I don't think I'm the first one to come up with it.
Yeah.
People have tried to say like they stand in different positions in the end of the episode, that like Aziraphale is more in the dark where Crowley is more in the light in certain scenes, where it kind of implies that it could be a hint that they switched places. I don't necessarily know what the purpose of that would be. Even when I was making this prediction, I can't really fathom why they would do that, but I think it's an interesting idea for it to be like a full circle thing, that they'd switch places again.
Yeah.
I've also kind of thought that maybe, unspokenly they communicated something to each other of like Aziraphale saying, trust me. And that's why Crowley doesn't seem as upset as he should by the way it ends, because it's really tragic the way it ends. And again, all of this is like a wait and see. But
well, you know what? When you said tragic like that, it reminded me of, how they put in Shakespeare.
Yes.
They're their own Shakespearean play.
Yes, and I've said that in another video. They are. They star-crossed lovers.
Star-crossed lovers.
It's, very Romeo and Juliet.
You talking about it in another video. It's just as it keeps rolling on.
Yeah. But I'm hoping they will have a happier ending than Romeo and Juliet, obviously. But you know what I mean. I think there's a good chance and a good possibility. This is not so much a prediction, just an idea that I have, that Crowley and Muriel are going to become closer in season 3. I think as much as like we see Crowley kind of drive away from the bookshop, I don't think he's going to stay away. Okay. Even though he wants his flat back, I don't think that's ever really felt like home to him. Yeah. It's described in the book that, it has this unlived in appearance because Crowley doesn't really live there. He goes there to sleep, but he doesn't actually live there. I think he spends more of his time in the bookshop. So if anything, to me, that's his home. That's where he would feel the most at home. Yeah. So I feel like there's a good chance he's going to go back there. He won't be able to resist that. And so I feel like, he was already kind of like a father figure to Muriel, and I feel like that's going to continue in season 3.
I agree.
I feel like there's a good chance, another prediction here, I feel like there's a good chance that the 4 horsemen would come back, because I think that is part of I think that is part of like the lore of the end of the world. And if we're really doing the end of the world, it's possible. I don't know. I don't know how much again, this is like lower on my list. And I think I tried to make the ones that I'm not as confident in kind of lower on the list. And I feel like the 4 horsemen making a reappearance, it's possible. I don't know if I want it, but it's possible. Yeah. I'd like to think we might get like a proper Jane Austen scene, like where we see Jane Austen.
That would be cute.
I think that would be fun. And I think that fits in with the 1800s era. Yeah. So since they talked about like, knowing her and stuff like that, maybe that would be fun to like include that. I don't know how much time they're going to have, but to do like, going back. But I know every season they've done like stuff in the past with them. So I feel like they almost have to include stuff in the past. You know what I mean? I agree. Like they've had this like building up their story. So I feel like that could just round it out. Yeah. I have said before, this is not on my predictions list. This is kind of like an honorable mention because I don't necessarily know how possible it is. I would love to see them like with Joan of Arc. I think that would be very, very fascinating. There's a whole queer history there. So I'd love to see what they do with that. but I don't necessarily know if I think that's possible for season 3, but it's something that I'd like to see, if that makes sense. So it's not on my official predictions list, but it is like kind of an honorable mention. I do have a couple of those.
I like how there's honorable mentions.
Thank you. Well, they weren't like actual predictions, but they could be interesting. So I did include this here. This is its own prediction, even though it's kind of part of the heaven and hell versus earth war thing, which is Beelzebub and Crowley and Gabriel working together and probably fighting against Aziraphale, at least for a minute, which is really a painful thought and kind of goes to my earlier prediction that it's going to be really painful to watch.
It's going to be painful to watch, but necessary.
Yes. I feel like there's a good chance that there is going to be at least a little bit of a fight there. I don't know how long it's going to go on. I don't know how serious it's going to be, or like what would be like the end. I don't necessarily have like a conclusion to these predictions necessarily, all of them. Some of them I do, but like I do think there's a good possibility of, I think especially if Aziraphale doesn't have his memory, it makes perfect sense that that would be the only way they would get him to fight, because he in season 1 very famously had no desire to fight. So the only way they could actually get him to fight, especially against someone like Crowley, would be to erase his memory. So I don't know. I think that's going to be interesting. If that does happen, it's going to be painful. If it doesn't, then that's a prediction that I'm happy didn't come true. Let's put it that way. Occasionally, after 6,000 years, I'd like to think that Aziraphale and Crowley, famously, they don't have the best communication, but occasionally they communicate very well. And I think sometimes they can communicate things wordlessly. I would love to see that if they didn't switch places, that actually Aziraphale is acting as like a double agent, and that he kind of wordlessly told Crowley to trust him like he did in 1941. That would be a perfect kind of full circle moment for that as well. And like he's clearly trying to get information in heaven to know what they have to fight against. And it might be easier this time around because, hey, he's Supreme Archangel. He kind of probably has a little bit more freedom than he did as just a principality. So now he can know exactly what they're up against and fight against it. I think this is one of the ones that it's like I would prefer this idea as opposed to other ideas. I'd prefer this to a memory wipe, certainly.
I agree.
But
I like it.
It's just, I don't, again, I don't know how likely it is. All of this is kind of speculative. The next one I have is, again, it's not so much a prediction, just like I really want to see it. I really want a proper full dance between Crowley and Aziraphale. Their last one got interrupted. I want to see something that's like longer and extended and cute and fun. So yeah, I'm just going to say that. I also really want them to have a Golden Girls marathon. I think that would be so cute. I was kind of reaching the bottom of the barrel for my last few predictions. They're not so much things that I thought out that much. It's more like just things that I want, things that I'd like to see, because it's kind of hard. 25 predictions is really fucking hard, is what I learned from this process. And again, anything is possible, but it's hard to know like how likely it is. Some of these I think were more justifiable than others. Others are just like, it's just fun. Like a Golden Girls marathon is just fun. But especially if they're human, I like the idea of Crowley introducing Aziraphale to like more human-y things. Like now you're officially human, so now you got to learn more. Get to the times. Get with the times. Sorry, that's the phrase that people use. Get to the times. I did think this is funny. This is my silly little one. I think we're gonna see another like side ship become canon. Like obviously the Gabriel Beelzebub thing was kind of like a thing that people just apparently were into after the end of season 1, and I like the idea that for whatever reason, that's probably going to happen again, because why not? So yeah, that's all of my predictions. That's all 25 plus a few honorable mentions. What do you think? What do you think is going to be this season?
I think.
What is your vibe?
My vibe is you have some great predictions.
Thank you.
You have and
some silly ones.
The honorable mention ones are good too. They're cute, and the whole Golden Girls. I can see that. I think all of your predictions are reasonable because of what we've seen in both season 1 and season 2. And they're relatively sound. I really, really was impressed with the one with if Aziraphale didn't get wiped clean. It's the trust me. And
yes.
I think that makes complete sense. And it's a real good one. And
thank you.
I would say, I hope Neil got your message.
My mental message. And please, by the way, do not send this to Neil. Do not send any of these to Neil. That is not the point. I don't think that's okay. I don't want to do that. That's not why I'm making this. This is for us. Neil has his own plans, and I will be happy with whatever his plan is.
Yes. This is just our fun take on
Yeah,
it.
this is just our fun take on it. And I do want to do a follow-up after the season comes out where we kind of get to see, okay, which of these was I right on? I have to imagine, 25 predictions is a lot, and there's kind of a lot of room for error, but there's also, like they say, even a broken clock is right twice a day. So it's possible that I get at least, a couple.
And of course, if there's something that you think is a great prediction,
yes, I'd love to hear it in the comments.
Absolutely.
I would love to see your guys' predictions. I'd love to see what you guys think about season 3. But yeah, I'm very, very excited for this. I cannot wait for season 3. Obviously, I figure we probably have a little bit before this happens.
But the announcement gets us just that much closer.
Yes, it does. And I know Amazon said that they would be filming soon. I love that Neil's response to that was, depends on what you mean by soon. So,
that's cute.
I would imagine it's probably going to be sometime next year that we'll have this premiere. I think that's a fair assessment.
But the thing is,
it's not as far out as, it's closer than the last one. It's not as far out as we were expecting. I kind of anticipated, like, there's a good chance that it might be, 2-3 years, because I didn't know how long the writer's strike was going to last. I didn't know how long any of that was going to last. So, it's hard to tell in situations like that, but I am very glad that we're ultimately getting this
season 3.
Before then. Yeah, we're getting this season 3 officially. So I'm very, very excited. I wanted to share my predictions with you. Again, the bingo card will be in the info box down below, so you can download that. I would love to see you guys, like, what your thoughts are, and I would love to see, how many of these came true. I think that'd be very, very interesting. And of course, if you have any predictions, if you have any thoughts about season 3, any hopes for season 3, all of that, I would love to see that. Comment down below. Yes. Like this video if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on Patreon, patreon.com/JusticeDeVille. You can also become a member of this channel. We have 2 tiers, the Ineffable tier and the Our Side tier. The Our Side tier does get a little bit more. You get to get members-only videos. You get behind-the-scenes stuff. You get early access and shout-out. And yeah, until next time, stay devilish and see you next. Well, this isn't Tuesday. This is technically Thursday, but you know what I mean.
Today's Monday. Oh.
Don't break the magic.